Morning, we're going to start now. Morning, everyone. As the members will take their seat, the visitors will retire behind the rail. We will get started. Thank you. To give our invocation this morning, the chair recognizes Reverend Christian Pennachietti of the Third Baptist Church. He is here today as the guest of Councilman Squilla. I would ask all guests, visitors, and members to please rise.
Good morning, Council.
Good morning.
Gandhi said this, and I quote, "The best way to find yourself is to lose yourself in the service of others." End quote. Solomon, the wisest king in the Bible, said this in Ecclesiastes chapter 9, "For whatsoever thine hand findeth to do, do it with all thy might. And may you, as you serve others, find yourself and do it with all your might." Let's pray. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for your many blessings. Thank you, Lord, for the blessing of health and life itself. Thank you for this day, another day that we have that you've given us to fulfill our duties. Lord, I ask you on behalf of this council that you would graciously grant them the wisdom amid the conflicting problems in society, Father, that you would give them a true sense for the needs of the people, that you give them the strength and the courage to stand alone and to make these right decisions. Lord, I ask you that you'd give them harmony as they work together in times of disagreement. And Lord, also that you would give them protection and safety from evil and protect their families, give them prosperity. And Lord, may you bless this city. We thank you now in the most holy name, the name above all names, the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Reverend, for those inspiring words. We really appreciate it. Council will be at ease. Thank you. The next order of business is the approval of the journal of the meeting of Thursday, October 12, 2017, and the chair recognizes Councilman Greenlee.
Thank you, Mr. President. Excuse me. I move that the journal of the meeting of Thursday, October 12, 2017 be approved.
Second.
Thank you. It's been moved and properly second that the journal of the meeting of Thursday, October 12, 2017 stand approved. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, ayes have it, and the journal is approved. The next order of business is request for leave of absence, and the chair recognizes Councilman Heenan.
Thank you, Mr. President. On behalf of the majority, there are no requests of leave of absence today.
Chair thanks the gentleman. The chair now recognizes Councilman O'Neill.
Thank you, Mr. President. On behalf of the Republicans, there are no requests for leave of absence.
Chair thanks the gentleman. At this time, I would like to dispense with the regular order of business, and I would like to thank everyone who has taken time out of their busy day to come down to witness their government in action. We genuinely appreciate you coming down. We hope today is a pleasurable one, but so much more a knowledgeable one, so much so that you come back again. So again, thank you so much for being here today. This time, the chair recognizes Councilwoman Parker, who will present a resolution honoring and recognizing the students, staff, and partners of Hill-Freedman World Academy High School. Would the students please join the Councilwoman at the podium? And joining Councilwoman Parker We have Councilman Greenlee, Councilman Heenan, Councilman Green, Councilman Taubenberger, Councilman Jones, and Councilman Dom, and Councilman Johnson, and Councilwoman Kiona Sanchez.
Yeah, you're first. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. President, and I'll take this opportunity while we are getting assembled to here to say, one, I am excited about welcoming Hill-Freedman World Academy to the City Council of Philadelphia chambers. I also want to note that everyone knows Hill-Freedman, but we were very fortunate in the 9th Councilmanic District when in 2016, thanks to the leadership of Dr. Height in the school district of Philadelphia and Principal Majewski, they made the former lead school their school here in the city of Philadelphia. And in 2016, the 10th grade class, and they're now 11th graders, they began learning computer-based music production and composition, and they did this in partnership with David Bradley and LiveConnections. David Bradley, raise your hand so the people watching this will know who you are. And I learned this. While I was proud as the district council person to say that they have a music production studio, I was even more proud, Councilman Johnson, to learn that while we are not the only school with a music production studio, we are the only school that we are aware of which has produced and published its own CD and distributed to the public. So that is huge for us. And while the process will be normal and that we will go through our resolution presentation, it will be a little different in that in true leadership style, the school has said we do not want you to hear from the principal and the leadership of the school. We want to yield our time so you can hear 60 seconds from the young people of what is actually on their CD. So I want you to raise your hand, Principal Majewski, just so people will know who you are. Raise your hand, Principal. Raise your hand higher. There are people are watching on television. And so, Principal Majewski, thank you so much for your leadership. Student-centered, community-oriented principals. He doesn't sit in the office to govern like he's of the people and in the school, so that's important. Ezekiel Thurman, you'll remember him. Councilman Green, you had him when he was here at Houston. They produced actually some work there, but he led the music production program at Houston Elementary, the student CD production project of 2014-15, and we have an in-school studio that supports Hill-Freedman students and community because of Zeke Thurman. Zeke, where are you? Because I don't think, here, thank you so much. You know, recognition is important. When Houston was here, you know, I don't know that people knew that we recognized some folks, but you were the man who made it happen. So we need to note that for the record. I'll talk about Bria later. Dana Hinkson, the associate student producer. She spent hours supporting and encouraging her, crossed every T and dotted every I. David Bradley, where are you, the rock star? Raise your hand. David of LiveConnections understands the importance of music in the arts and connected our young students to writing workshops. And Yolanda Wisher, who is the poet laureate for the city of Philadelphia. Sponsors are here. The guys who gave the money are extremely important. I want to know who they are. Stockton Rush Bartle, Patricia Kine, Wincoat, and listen, you heard Ezekiel Thurman. He was so vested that his family ended up being one of the sponsors, the John and Joanne Thurman and the Pennsylvania Council of the Arts. So after we make the presentation, you will hear from Solomon Smith and Bria Jordan, and every council member today will receive a copy of this, which is the official first verse CD. The resolution reads as follows. A resolution honoring and recognizing the students, staff, and partners of Hill-Freedman World Academy High School in collaboration with LiveConnections on the release of First Verse, a student-led original CD album of poetry set to music.
Whereas in the fall of 2016, Hill-Freedman World Academy High School, under the leadership of Principal Anthony Majewski, opened its new music studio, record label, and music technology program, and
Whereas music technology teacher Ezekiel Thurman, who designed and implemented the new program and launched Hill-Freedman Records, taught all 11th graders as they immersed themselves in learning computer-based music production and composition as part of the school's International Baccalaureate program. And
whereas, as students developed their music composition skills, Thurman reached out to LiveConnections, a nonprofit dedicated to inspiring, learning, and building community through collaborative music making, to partner together through an artist residency at the school, led by founding director David Bradley. And
whereas LiveConnections brought City of Philadelphia Poet Laureate Yolanda Wisher to the music studio to lead a poetry writing program. And
it's good to be the first, but you can't be the only. We're putting $2.5 million in Overbrook High School to match what you're doing. And so competition's on.
Oh, we love it. We love it.
Whereas students wrote about personal struggles and issues that they were dealing with at home, at school, and in the community. They wrote verses inspired by imagery of color and poems driven by what Miss Wisher called John Henry level of hyperbole? Okay, got it.
And whereas working in the recording studio, the students performed and recorded their poems and joined their writing with their music compositions, with additional support from LiveConnections artist Andrew Lipke.
Gonna have to ask Councilman O to let them open up in next year's competition, right? Okay. There we go. Whereas in the final phase of the project, producers Thurman and Bradley worked with student producers to create the original CD album. And
whereas student leadership led to the project expanding from a planned 15-track album to one comprising 29 tracks entitled First Verse. In total, the project involved 88 students, including 2 student producers.
As a parent of a Hill-Freedman World Academy student, I'm incredibly proud to be here to see all the phenomenal work that Hill-Freedman has done, and it's a pleasure that this is a school that combines an international baccalaureate program with also a program with children that have learning differences and challenges. Whereas the debut from Hill-Freedman World Records, First Verse announces the school's ambition for what's ahead: distinctive student voices, rigorous process, and collaboration with top artists and artist organizations in the city. Now, therefore, be it
resolved that the Council of the City of Philadelphia hereby honors and recognizes the students, staff, and partners of Hill-Freedman World Academy High School in collaboration with LiveConnections on the release of First Verse, a student-led or original CD album of poetry set to music.
Further resolved that an engrossed copy of this resolution be presented to the students and staff of Hill-Freedman World Academy High School as a sincere expression of the Philadelphia City Council's recognition. And now, Council will hear selections from Solomon Smith and Bria Jordan since we've just read the resolution. Thank you.
I would like to give thanks to Council President Clark and Councilwoman Parker for allowing us the opportunity to showcase our skills. Thank you. Roots. Far back as the king himself, David. Verses. Poetry. Detailed as the Psalms. Not as wise as the Proverbs, but I'm getting there. I'm heavenly, you know it. I have Gabriel behind me in case anybody want to try. Never smoked, but I feel high as a kite. Ignore fools, I'm Beethoven. Deaf to stupidity, infinity is where I'm headed off to. My words move like an African dance. Never considered myself a poet or a rapper, but you have to give me a chance. My trance on you is finished. My time is now diminished. Or is it? Egotistical and understatement. It's blatant that my ciphers are vipers, king cobras. You see how I inject myself. Philosophical toxins, they enter the bloodstream. Don't scream, it seems you see my love, my pain, my joy, my dreams. The next voice you will hear will come from Bria Jordan.
My poem is named Gold Bills on Top. My melanin is so potent that even black coffee gets jealous. My butter toffee, cocoa-filled pigment, those who lack thinks my brown is overzealous. My hair is so thick and voluminous that even Pocahontas gets upset. My density versus her length overpowers that even the P's on the back of my neck is a threat. The way I walk is so infused with confidence that it feels like my head goes through the ceiling lights. I'm always looking up, never slouching with my head down, so much that I tend to forget what my shoes look like. My rhymes flow together like rose water in the fountain of youth. By the way I matched this trio called pen, paper, and words, they thought I matched Hera and Zeus. I file my nails with the bezels of the ice that rappers rock. I eat my ice cream as a snack with gold bills on top.
Thank you very much. Council will be at ease. Thank you very much, and congratulations. At this time, the chair recognizes Councilwoman Blackwell.
Thank you, Mr. President. Today we have a special guest, Mary Gill. She's Assemblywoman, our counterpart in Pakistan. She'll be visiting until November 10th. She's from the largest province, Punjab, in Pakistan, and we certainly are very, very glad to have her.
Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Thank you so much for being here. Chair now recognizes Councilwoman Reynolds Brown.
Thank you, Mr. President. We are blessed today with a number of special guests, and I'd like to include among our special guests a welcome and that our office is hosting Marianne Frey. She's the very first Vice President of External Affairs for the Maternity Care Coalition, that agency recognizing more and more how important it is to be closely aligned with government. Marianne is responsible for the strategy and management of new business development, fund development, also known as fundraising, marketing and communications, research, public policy, and government relations, along with strategic partnerships and consulting here in the city of Philadelphia. So we want to welcome her to this legislative body, Marianne Frey. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Welcome, and thank you for being here today. Our next order of business is communications, and the chair requests that the Sergeant of Arms delivers the messages from the mayor to the chief clerk. Thank you. Mr. Decker, would you please read those messages from the mayor?
To the President and members of the Council of the City of Philadelphia, I am pleased to advise you that on October 18, 2017, I signed the following bill, which was passed by Council at its session on October 5, 2017, Bill Number 170519A. And I am submitting herewith for the consideration of your honorable body a resolution authorizing the Director of the Office of Homeless Services, on behalf of the City of Philadelphia, to file a proposal for fiscal year 2018 Emergency Solutions Grant Program funding with the Pennsylvania Department of Community and Economic Development, and a resolution approving the redevelopment contract of the Philadelphia Redevelopment Authority for the redevelopment and urban renewal of a portion of the new Kensington Fishtown urban renewal area identified by house number and street address as 2610 Frankfurt Avenue, and an ordinance amending A301 of Title IV of the Philadelphia Code, entitled Application for Permit, and Section 9-1008, entitled Demolition Contractor License, by adding and amending certain provisions related to permits for demolitions and the licensing of demolition contractor. And an ordinance amending Section B 3303 of Title IV of the Philadelphia Code, entitled Demolition, by amending requirements regarding site grading and use of mechanical equipment, and adding requirements regarding materials, chutes, dust control fencing, and storage of demolition debris, and making technical changes, all under certain terms and conditions.
Thank you, Mr. Decker. Do you have any additional communications?
I have none, Mr. President.
Thank you very much. The next order of business is the introduction of bills and resolutions, and the chair recognizes Councilwoman Reynolds Brown.
Mr. President, I'm pleased to offer two resolutions co-sponsored by all members of Philadelphia City Council.
Thank you, Councilwoman.
A privilege resolution recognizing and celebrating women organized against rape and its newest prevention education initiative, Safe Bars Philly, in the city of Philadelphia.
Today's calendar.
And a non-privileged resolution urging the Trump administration to rescind its decision to repeal the Clean Power Plan.
And that will be on next week's calendar. Chair recognizes Councilwoman Blackwell.
Thank you, Mr. President. Today I introduce two bills and two non-privileged resolutions, and I wish to be recognized after the title of the resolution authorizing the Director of the Office of Homeless Services to file a proposal for fiscal year 2018 Emergency Solutions Grant funding.
Thank you, Councilwoman.
Thank you.
An ordinance establishing parking regulations on the 4700 block of Locust Street, the 4700 block of Spruce Street, and the 200 block of South 47th Street.
Per the committee.
And an ordinance establishing parking regulations on the 300 block of North 36th Street, the 300 block of North 35th Street, and the 3500 block of Powelton Avenue.
Per the committee.
And a non-privileged resolution also naming 1300 South 46th Street, Ruby Knight Way.
Next week's calendar.
And a non-privileged resolution authorizing the Director of the Office of Homeless Services on behalf of the City of Philadelphia to file a proposal for fiscal year 2018 Emergency Solutions Grant Program funding with the Pennsylvania Department of Community and Economic Development.
Chair recognizes Councilwoman Blackwell.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move to suspend the rules of council so as to permit consideration of this resolution on today's final passage calendar.
Thank you. It's been moved and properly second that this resolution be on today's final passage calendar based on the suspension of the rules. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Ayes have it, and this will be on our final passage calendar today. Chair recognizes Councilman Greenlee.
Thank you, Mr. President. Today I offer one bill, and also on your behalf I offer one resolution.
Thank you, Councilman.
An ordinance amending Title VI, Chapter 400 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Miscellaneous Standards and Requirements to add warning sign requirements for public bathing establishments.
And that will be referred to committee.
And a non-privileged resolution authorizing the Commissioner of Public Property to execute and deliver to the Philadelphia Redevelopment Authority without consideration deeds conveying conditional fee simple title to certain city-owned lots and pieces of ground with the buildings and improvements thereon situated in the 43rd Ward of the City of Philadelphia.
Next week's calendar. Chair recognizes Councilman Heenan.
Thank you, Mr. President. Today I offer one privileged resolution.
Thank you, Councilman.
A privileged resolution recognizing and congratulating Comcast NBC Universal for being honored as a 2017 Employer Support Freedom Award recipient, presented by the Secretary of Defense for their commitment to members of the military, veterans, and their families.
This week's calendar. Chair recognizes Councilman Jones.
Mr. President, today I offer one bill co-sponsored by Councilman Johnson.
Thank you, Councilman.
An ordinance amending A301 of Title IV of the Philadelphia Code entitled Application for Permit and Section 9-1008 entitled Demolition Contractor License by adding and amending certain provisions related to permits for demolition and the licensing of demolition contractors.
That bill will be referred to the appropriate committee. Chair recognizes Councilman Johnson.
Council President, I have three bills.
Thank you, Councilman.
An ordinance establishing a no truck parking regulation and tow-away zone regulations on the 1600 and 1700 blocks of Point Breeze Avenue, both sides, 1700, 1800, and 1900 blocks of Bear Avenue, both sides, and the 3000 block of Reed Street, both sides. And an ordinance establishing no truck parking and towing regulations on South 61st Street, both sides, from Harley Avenue to a point 350 feet southeast, the 2900 block of Island Avenue, both sides, the 2800 and 2900 blocks of South 84th Street, both sides, and the 7200 and 7300 blocks of Dix Avenue. And an ordinance amending Chapter 19, 3900 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Tax Exemptions for Longtime Owner Occupants of Residential Properties to extend the availability of exemptions and making related changes, all under certain terms and conditions.
Thank you. Those three bills will be referred to the appropriate committee. Chair recognizes Councilwoman Kiona Sanchez.
Thank you, Mr. President. No bills or resolutions today.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Chair recognizes Councilman Green.
Thank you, Council President. I have one privileged and one non-privileged resolution.
Thank you, Councilman.
A privileged resolution authorizing the Committee of the Whole to hold hearings regarding Philadelphia's Amazon HQ2 proposal.
That will be on this week's final passage calendar.
And a non-privileged resolution affirming the right of people with disabilities to technology and information access.
And that will be on next week's calendar. Chair recognizes Councilwoman Parker.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have one bill.
Thank you, Councilwoman.
An ordinance amending Section 14503 of the Philadelphia Zoning Code entitled NCA Neighborhood Commercial Area Overlay District by creating the East Mountain Area NCA Overlay District and making related changes, all under certain terms and conditions.
That bill will be referred to committee. Chair recognizes Councilman Don.
Good morning, Council President. I have one privileged resolution sponsored by all members of council and co-sponsored by council members Squilla, Taubenberger, Heenan, O'Neill, Parker, Reynolds, Brown, Bass, and O.
Thank you, Councilman.
A privileged resolution recognizing and honoring Bernard Bud Newman, immediate past president of the Jewish Federation of Greater Philadelphia, for his stewardship to the organization and his service to the Jewish community of Greater Philadelphia.
And that will be on this week's calendar. Chair recognizes Councilwoman Gill.
Thank you, Council President. I have no bills or resolutions today.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Chair recognizes Councilman Taubenberger.
Good morning, Council President. I have no bills or resolutions today.
Thank you, Councilman. Chair recognizes Councilman O'Neill.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have no bills or resolutions.
Thank you, Councilman. Chair recognizes Councilman Squilla.
Thank you, Mr. President. I offer 2 bills and 2 non-privileged resolutions.
Thank you, Councilman.
An ordinance amending Section B 3303 of Title IV of the Philadelphia Code entitled Demolition by amending requirements regarding site grading and use of mechanical equipment and adding requirements regarding material chutes, dust control fencing, and storage of demolition debris.
Refer to committee.
And an ordinance authorizing the Commissioner of Parks and Recreation on behalf of the City of Philadelphia to enter into an agreement with the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania Department of Transportation for maintenance of a shared-use trail located at the Girard Avenue interchange and Interstate Route 95.
That bill will also be referred to committee.
And a non-privileged resolution approving the redevelopment contract of the Philadelphia Redevelopment Authority for the redevelopment and urban renewal of a portion of the New Kensington Fishtown urban renewal area identified by house number and street address as 2610 Frankfurt Avenue.
Next week's final passage calendar.
And a non-privileged resolution authorizing the Commissioner of Public Property to execute and deliver to the Philadelphia Redevelopment Authority without consideration deeds conveying conditional fee simple title to certain city-owned lots and pieces of ground with the buildings and improvements thereon situated in the 39th Ward of the City of Philadelphia.
Also on next week's final passage calendar, the chair recognizes Councilwoman Bass.
Thank you, Mr. President. I offer 1 bill and 2 non-privileged resolutions.
Thank you, Councilwoman.
Thank you.
An ordinance amending Section 9203 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Street Vendors by prohibiting street vending on certain portions of Olney Avenue and creating a special street vending district on North 20th Street between West Clarkson Avenue and Belfield Avenue.
Refer to committee.
And a privileged resolution commemorating the 20th anniversary of the Million Women March, which inspired African American women across the nation to work for their own improvement as well as that of their communities.
This week's calendar.
And a non-privileged resolution authorizing the Commissioner of Public Property to execute and deliver to the Philadelphia Redevelopment Authority without consideration deeds conveying conditional fee simple title to certain city-owned lots and pieces of ground with the buildings and improvements thereon situated in the 59th Ward of the City of Philadelphia.
And that will be on next week's calendar. Chair recognizes Councilman O.
Thank you very much. I'll offer no bills or resolutions.
Thank you, Councilman. That concludes our introduction of bills and resolutions. And the next order of business is report from committee. And the chair recognizes Councilwoman Bass for a report from the Committee of Parks, Recreation, and Cultural Affairs.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Committee on Parks, Recreation, and Cultural Affairs reports 1 bill with a favorable recommendation.
Thank you. Mr. Decker, please read that report.
To the President and members of the Council of the City of Philadelphia, the Committee on Parks, Recreation, and Cultural Affairs, to which is referred Bill Number 170724, entitled An Ordinance Amending Title 15 of the Philadelphia Code, entitled Parks and Recreation, by requiring the public posting of hours of operations for libraries and recreation centers. Respectfully reports it has considered and amended the same, and returns the attached bill to Council with a favorable recommendation.
Chair again recognizes Councilwoman Bass.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the rules of council be suspended so as to permit first reading this day of Bill Number 170724.
Thank you. It has been moved and probably second that the rules of council be suspended so as to permit first reading this day of Bill Number 170724. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, the ayes have it. This bill will be on our first reading calendar today. That concludes our report from committee, and we will now have the consideration of the calendar. I note that the bill just reported from committee has been deemed to have had a first reading, this bill will be placed on our second reading and final passage calendar at our next session of council. As there are no additional bills on the first reading calendar, the chair recognizes Councilman Heenan for the purpose of calling up bills and resolutions on the final passage calendar today.
Thank you, Mr. President. The following resolutions and bills are being called up for the second reading and final passage calendars today. Bill numbers 170-641, 170-880, 170-882, 170-883, 170-884, 170-887, 170-890, 170-891, 170-892, 170-792, and 170-674. All other resolutions and bills are being held.
Thank you, Councilman. Before considering these bills and resolutions on the final passage calendar today, we will have our public comment session. It will go as follows. If you have not already done so, you're interested in testifying on a bill or resolution today, I'd ask that you sign up to the table to my left. When your name is called, you will go to the podium in the middle of the council chambers. There's a device on that podium. When that light turns green, it will be your time to speak. When the light turns yellow, you will have 30 seconds to conclude your remarks. When the light turns red, we'd ask that you please adhere to our guidelines and conclude your remarks. You will be given 3 minutes to testify. Thank you very much for your anticipated cooperation. Mr. Decker, please call the first name on the list.
Commenting on 170892 in this order, Maggie Graff, Hovita Hill, Monique Howard, and Melissa Robbins.
Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for the opportunity to take a stand today against the Trump administration's recent attack on basic health care that almost every woman in America will rely on at some point in her life, birth control. Birth control is not controversial. It's basic health care. The Trump administration's recently issued rule that means essentially any employer can decide that a woman can no longer have birth control covered by her insurance is a direct attack on the 2.5 million women in Pennsylvania alone who are currently benefiting from the mandate under the Affordable Care Act. In fact, polls show that before the Affordable Care Act's birth control provision went into effect, 1 in 3 women struggled to afford prescription birth control. Let's be clear, this has nothing to do with religion as claimed. Under the Affordable Care Act, religious organizations already have an accommodation. This rule is about taking away women's fundamental health care, plain and simple, and it won't stop here. This administration is carrying out a full-scale attack to dismantle birth control access, and they're doing it in many ways. They're trying to end health insurance coverage for birth control with this rule. They want to eliminate programs that help lower-income women access birth control, including the federal family planning program known as Title X. They're planning on prohibiting health care providers from giving women information about birth control and abortion. And they're determined to also deny Medicaid reimbursement to Planned Parenthood. A woman's reproductive health care should not be at the discretion of her boss or the president, but between herself and her health care provider. We will not be fooled. This is just an attempt by the Trump administration to chip away at access through the back door, since they have been unsuccessful in repealing the Affordable Care Act. We cannot go back on the progress that we have made. According to polls, 86% of Americans, including 83% of Republicans, support policies that make it easier to get a full range of birth control. It took us 8 years to make sure that 62 million women across the country have access to birth control, and we're not going to give that up. Because of this increased access, we're presently at a 40-year low for rates of unintended pregnancy, teenage pregnancy, and abortion. This means that more women have access to opportunities and are better able to plan their families and their lives. We applaud City Council for taking a stand against this outrageous rule.
Thank you. Clerk, would you please read the name of our next speaker, please?
Hovita Hill.
Yes, good morning. I am Javita Hill. I am the Director of the Office of Engagement for Women and Executive Director of the Philadelphia Commission for Women. I would like to thank the council members who introduced this resolution. It is very much appreciated. We oppose the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services' new rules that would deny contraception coverage to women, coverage that was mandated under the Affordable Care Act. The continuous assault on the Affordable Care Act has been particularly mean-spirited and discriminatory and has posed tremendous health risks to women, particularly minority women and poor women and their families. I appreciate this body is considering this resolution today, and I urge its passage. The Office of Engagement for Women stands with women's health organizations across the city and this nation, and we are appalled by the discriminatory consequences of the new rules that limit women's access to reproductive health care. Nearly 50 years ago, I stood with women locally and nationally as we chanted together, "My body, my choice." And it saddens me that my granddaughter will still have to lift up her voice for her body and her choice. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Clerk, would you please read the name of our next speaker?
Monique Howard.
Good morning. My name is Dr. Monique Howard, and I'm the Executive Director of Women Organizing Against Rape and a member of a national coalition of 100 Black women, Pennsylvania chapter. I respectfully submit the following testimony in support of Resolution 170892, introduced by council members, which opposes the decision by the Trump administration to roll back access to contraceptive coverage for female employees under the Affordable Care Act. Women Organized Against Rape is the only rape crisis center in the city of Philadelphia. Its mission to eliminate rape and sexual assault. In 2017, we provided services to 88,000 individuals. 93% of them were females. Under the Affordable Care Act, more than 55 million women have access to birth control without co-payments because of contraceptive coverage mandate. Under the new regulation, hundreds of thousands of women could lose their birth control benefits. This mandate crosses socioeconomic status lines, education level, literacy level, and geographic location. All women who utilize contraceptives will be negatively impacted when they are denied control over their reproductive functions and their decisions. Some women are more likely to be doomed to poverty, low-level work, poor educational attainment, higher risks of illness, and diminished opportunities for themselves, their children, and their family. The new Trump administration mandate means that affordable contraceptive, which saves lives, prevents unintended pregnancies, and improves maternal mortality, will no longer be available to many women and many families. This may not affect the thousands of women who are able to report their rape or sexual assault and receive immediate medical attention and emergency contraceptives. However, this new mandate will negatively impact the hundreds of thousands of women who do not report their rape and who are not using consistent contraceptives because of cost. These women may end up pregnant, carrying a child linked to the most horrific event in their lives. It is sad that we are still struggling over the issue of contraception, a basic right for women and couples to plan a family, basic insurance coverage, and federal funding for reproductive health. This fight started in the 60s, and through the Affordable Care Act was finally resolved. Fundamental women's health rights are continually under attack and being taken away. When will there be consistent investment in the lives of women? Again, thank you for supporting the passage of this resolution.
Thank you for your testimony. Clerk, would you please read the name of our next speaker?
Melissa Robbins.
Good morning, everyone. City Council President and council members. My name is Melissa Robbins, and I'm here to speak on behalf of the Philadelphia chapter of the National Organization of Women in support of Resolution number 170892, which was introduced on October 12th by council members Bass, Reynolds Brown, Greenlee, Green, Parker, and Gim. As we've all heard, the current Commander-in-Chief and his administration has recently made it easier for employers to opt out of the ACA mandate. The Health and Human Services Division issued a new rule that broadens exemptions to the ACA requirement that employers health plans cover no-cost birth control. It is now easier for employers to opt out of covering contraception on religious and moral grounds. These exemptions previously applied to places of worship, religiously affiliated nonprofits, and closely held private companies. These rules changes in the administration show complete disregard to women's health and rights while opening the gates of employer discrimination against women. Millions of women will now face costly out-of-pocket birth control coverage. These changes were made effective immediately and put nationwide women at risk of losing their benefits. Having access to no-cost birth control means avoiding an unwanted pregnancy by an area teen. It also means irregular and heavy, painful menstrual cycles can be regulated of the 62 million females ages between 15 and 44. 62% of them will use a contraceptive method. I can give you my own personal account of why having access to no-cost birth control is detrimental to women's health. For about 3 years, I was what society would have called an at-risk youth. I had a very religious mother, and I had no access to birth control. So at the age of 16, in the 11th grade, not only was I junior class president, but I was also a pregnant teen in high school. I had a cesarean section and gave birth to my son at the age of 17, went on to serve in the United States Army at age 19, and found myself working on a GYN ward, a female surgery ward, labor, delivery, antepartum, and postpartum. Many of the women that came into the GYN clinic, of course, they were spouses of current serving soldiers, as myself, and these women were soldiers themselves serving in the United States Army and the Marine Corps on our base. These women had painful tissue removed that grows on the outside of the uterus called endometriosis. The tissue attaches itself to the ovaries, the fallopian tubes, and as well as abdominal walls. It's extremely painful and creates heavy bleeding for women. There is no cure, and it creates a continuum of visits to the GYN care for relief. However, birth control does relieve women of this pain. 5 million women are affected by this, and birth control is a solution. As you leave here today, I want you to consider how this will impact the women and the children in your lives. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your testimony. Clerk, would you please read the name of our next speaker?
Commenting in this order on 170890, Yolene Scott. Yolene Scott.
Excuse me. Chair recognizes Councilman O'Neill.
Madam Pro Tem, I would like to be excused for the rest of the session and be recorded as voting aye on all bills and resolutions.
It'll be recorded aye on all bills and resolutions, and you are excused. Thank you.
Josephus Daffels. Eric Eady.
Good morning, Council. My name is Josephus Daffes. I'm a proud Haitian American, and I'm in support of the resolution that will be passed to ensure that Haitians have TPS. TPS stands for Temporary Protection Status. And it was given to Haitians after the earthquake to come here and be able to work. And our dear president give them only 6 months. And now, November 23rd, they're gonna have a decision to be made to know if they're gonna give them 18 months. Normally, they give them 18 months, not 6 months, but it was only given 6 months. As of right now, as I'm talking to you right now, there are protests in Haiti. They have, the economy is still not well, and those people here, they have jobs to support their family in Haiti. And we need that support. It was given to other people. Why not give it to us also? And our history with Philadelphia go way, way, way back. 1824, we had black Philadelphian who went and lived in Haiti after the 1804 independence. So we have Haitians right now, Philadelphian right now. They have Haitian last name. They don't even know why they have French last name. But 1824, they lived in Haiti because Haiti was free at the time. So we need your support. We need you to help us ensure that those people have 18 months, not 6 months, because going back right now to Haiti is not a good thing for them. The UN is still in Haiti. The UN is still in Haiti, and they providing security because the country is not safe yet. Yes, we had made some strive. We're working on getting things better. We had an election. We have a new president, but things are still not the way they're supposed to be. Some Haitians that I contacted, part of my nonprofit that I have, Haitian American United for Change, they are afraid to come here. So that's why I come here and speak, because they're like, I don't want my name out there. I don't want people to know who I am. So when things doesn't go right, they don't get deported. That's why they didn't come here. Thank you for the support for Council Parker, Council Gain. Thank you for your support, Council Bass, Council Green. Thank you for your support of the Haitian people.
Thank you for your testimony. Is there anyone else here who signed up to provide public comment in today's agenda?
Eric Edie.
Thank you. My name is Eric Eddy. I am the CEO of the Coalition of African Community, and I'm also a lecturer at Jefferson University, which has recently merged with Philadelphia University. And I'm here to support the Haitian community and also support Resolution 170890 introduced by Councilmen and women Kim Parker, Green, and Jenny Blackwell. The simple act of our supporting in here as immigrants from Africa is to support our brothers and sisters from Haiti who are facing also the end of TPS for Haiti. It is similar, we have to support that. We are here because many other African countries also have seen the TPS status, were terminated, for instance, Sudan. And this is putting quite a lot of these immigrants at risk of deportation. Whereas TPS is is just a temporary solution for the problem. It has provided quite much relief for those immigrants, and we are therefore here to support our brothers and sisters again from Haiti and support the councilmen and women who have introduced this resolution. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Clerk, could you please read the name of our next speaker?
Michael Anderson.
It's Michael Anderson, and I'm a legislative advocate for the Arc of Philadelphia, and I would like to thank Dwayne, Terry, and Councilman Green for putting this reservation up for a vote next week, and the importance of technology for people with disabilities is that without technology, people couldn't look up for new jobs, look at how much money they had in their bank account, and look up fun things to do, like recreational activities. So I again thank Councilman Green for putting this up for a vote next week. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you for your testimony. Clerk, anyone else signed up for public comment today?
Joe Denahel. Commenting on 170641, 170882, 170891, and 170883.
Okay, this is an official decree of the people, mandamus quo warranto, and as such requires immediate action remedy. Every week, this council, mayor, and others transfer private properties to the government, probably illegally. This last week, council addressed crime with, if you see something, say something. What law allows taking property without compensation? Britannica Legal defines theft as removal of property without the consent of the lawful owner. Should the people allow the government to become the legalized version of the criminals? Did the U.S. Congress, Senate, and General Accounting Office issue documents directing the amounts of just compensation owed to Logan property owners? Was federal taxpayer money used as lawfully directed? What good is saying something if government fails to prosecute law violations? If violating one law one time would land people in jail, why hasn't the Commonwealth of federal governments investigated and prosecuted as constitutional laws require? Are elected monarchs above the law? Can Philadelphia and Pennsylvania government treat its people any more egregiously? Is this how a sanctuary city acts against its own sovereign people? Why has there been no prosecution by federal or Commonwealth attorney generals? The Constitution and laws require immediate remedy of this breach of law, breach of clothes, breach of fiduciary duty. Your oath of office requires you to act or face prison. 42 U.S.C. 1982, 1983, 1985, 1986, 1987, 18 U.S.C. 241, 242, 23A1, 23A4, PA Constitution, Article 1, Sections 1 through 11, 26 PA CSA, 703, 705, 708, 709, 712, 713, 716, and other laws listed in SCOTUS 15, 8965, 141330, 144056 appear violated. I call for the federal and Commonwealth governments to perform their constitutional obligations, to investigate and prosecute all involved in the theft and illegal deed transfer of my home, 1038 West Wyoming Avenue, the denial of God-given 42 U.S.C. 1982 property rights for 23 years is egregious, extraordinary, oath-violating, and requires immediate remedy. A just government must obey the rule of law. This color of all government must have its charter of government revoked until a constitutionally compliant government is installed. Public servants cannot refuse their sworn duty to act any more than a fireman can refuse to fight a fire. The sovereign people require Constitution laws be enforced. Jail is required for all who violate law. I remind Council, it takes a lot of cooperation to create and allow monumental corruption.
Thank you for your testimony. Clerk, any other people signed up for public
There are no
comment?
other speakers, Mr. Chairman.
All right, seeing none, that concludes today's public comment period.
Thank you very much. We will now go to our calendar. Excuse me. Mr. Decker, can you please read the title of 170641?
A resolution approving the redevelopment contract of the Philadelphia Redevelopment Authority for the redevelopment and urban renewal of a portion of the Model City's urban renewal area identified by house numbers and street addresses as 1029 through 1031 Mount Vernon Street, 1026 Lemon Street, and 1028 Lemon Street.
Thank you. Chair recognizes Councilman Greenlee.
Thank you, Mr. President. On your behalf, I move that resolution number 170641 be withdrawn. Second.
It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? The ayes have it. Resolution 170641 is withdrawn. Mr. Decker, 170880.
A resolution urging the Pennsylvania General Assembly and the Congress of the United States to protect access to preventative health services at Planned Parenthood health centers in Pennsylvania.
Chair recognizes Councilwoman Reynolds Brown.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for the adoption.
It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, the ayes have it, and Resolution 170880 is adopted. Mr. Decker, 170882.
A resolution authorizing the Commissioner of Public Property to execute and deliver to the Philadelphia Redevelopment Authority without consideration deeds conveying conditional fee simple title to certain city-owned lots and pieces of ground with the buildings and improvements thereon situated in the 32nd Ward of the City of Philadelphia.
Chair recognizes Councilman Greenlee.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the adoption of the resolution.
It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, the ayes have it, and the resolution is adopted. Mr. Decker, 170883.
A resolution authorizing the Commissioner of Public Property to execute and deliver to the Philadelphia Redevelopment Authority without consideration deeds conveying conditional fee simple title to certain city-owned lots or pieces of ground with the buildings and improvements thereon situated in the 32nd Ward of the City of Philadelphia.
Chair again recognizes Councilman Greenlee.
Thank you, Mr. President. Move the adoption of the resolution.
It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, ayes have it. Resolution 170883 is adopted. Mr. Decker, 170884.
A resolution also naming the 8100 block of Fairfield Street as Dr. Angelo DiBello Place in honor of Dr. Angelo DiBello and to commemorate his more than 60 years of medical service to the people of Philadelphia.
Chair recognizes Councilman Heenan.
I move for the adoption of the resolution.
Second.
It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, ayes have it, and Resolution 170884 is adopted. Mr. Decker, 170887.
A resolution renaming the 4200 block of Markland Street David Howarth Way to recognize, honor, and celebrate the life and legacy of David Howarth for his dedication to the Juniata Park community.
Chair recognizes Councilwoman Cherelle Sanchez.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for its adoption.
It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, ayes have it. Resolution 170-887 is adopted. Mr. Decker, 170-890.
A resolution urging President Donald Trump and Acting Secretary of Homeland Security Elaine Duke to protect thousands of Haitians living in Philadelphia and nationwide through the extension of Haiti's temporary protected status designation beyond January 22, 2018.
Chair recognizes Councilwoman Gimm.
Thank you very much, Council President, and I want to thank the two earlier speakers who talked about the real need to discuss the measures that were put in place to address the 2010 earthquake that impacted so many Haitians and families around the world. We have 2,900 Haitians currently living here in Philadelphia. They are revitalizing our economic corridors, putting their children in our public schools. They're energizing our city. And the TPS program that allows for them to live and work here in the U.S., sending money back home to rebuild another Caribbean nation that is also our neighbor and partner globally, is an important program. The fact that it is currently on hold with the potential danger for it not to be renewed, or the fact that it's been proposed that TPS for Haitians be renewed on a 6-month status, putting individuals in our city on a perpetual merry-go-round of whether they will or will not be deported, is unacceptable. And I want to thank especially my council partners, Councilwoman Blackwell, Parker, Green, for supporting this resolution and moving forward with it.
Chair recognizes Councilwoman Blackwell.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would like to certainly thank those who spoke. Dr. Eric Eady, a professor at Temple, is also a member of the Mayor's Commission on African and Caribbean Immigrant Affairs and Echoes of Africa that has taken a stand on this issue. And we certainly want to thank our colleagues, Councilwoman Gem, Parker, and Green, and say this is just so important. And we're very happy to support it and hope that all of this works out. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Chair again recognizes Councilwoman Gimm.
Thank you very much, Council President. I move for the adoption of the resolution.
It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, ayes have it. And Resolution 170-890 is adopted. Mr. Decker, 170-891.
A resolution authorizing the Commissioner of Public Property to execute and deliver to the Philadelphia Redevelopment Authority without consideration deeds conveying conditional fee simple title to certain city-owned lots or pieces of ground with the buildings and improvements thereon situated in the 31st Ward of the City of Philadelphia.
Chair recognizes Councilman Squilla.
Thank you, Mr. President. Offer adoption of the resolution.
It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, the ayes have it. Resolution 170-891 is adopted. Mr. Decker, 170-892.
A resolution opposing the decision by the Trump administration to roll back access to contraceptive coverage for female employees under the Affordable Care Act.
Chair recognizes Councilwoman Bass.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for its adoption.
It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, ayes have it. Resolution 170-892 is adopted. Mr. Decker, please read the title of 170-792.
An ordinance amending Chapter 19-3200 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Keystone Opportunity Zone Economic Development District and Strategic Development Area to provide for additional extensions of certain benefits.
This bill has been heard on 2 separate days. The question is, shall the bill pass finally? Mr. Decker, call the roll.
Councilwoman Bass. Councilwoman Blackwell. Councilman Dom. Councilman Green. Councilman Greenlee. Councilwoman Gimm. Councilman Heenan. Councilman Johnson. Councilman Jones. Councilman O'Neill is voting aye. Councilman O. Councilwoman Parker. Councilwoman Cherelle Sanchez. Councilwoman Reynolds Brown. Councilman Squilla. Councilman Taubenberger. Council President Clark.
Aye, the ayes are 17 and nays are 0. Majority of members present voting in affirmative, the bill passes. Mr. Decker, 170-674.
An ordinance amending Section 10825 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Stun Guns by further providing for the regulation of stun guns, also known as electric or electronic incapacitation devices.
Chair recognizes Councilman Jones.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would like to offer an amendment to Bill number 170674. A copy of that amendment has been circulated to all members of council, and I move for the adoption of that amendment.
It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Ayes have it. Bill number 170674 has been amended. It will be placed on our second reading and final passage calendar at our next session of council. Mr. Decker, do you have any additional resolutions?
A resolution recognizing and celebrating women organized against rape and its newest prevention education initiative, Safe Bars Philly, in the city of Philadelphia, introduced by Councilwoman Reynolds Brown.
Chair recognizes Councilwoman Reynolds Brown.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for the adoption.
It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed? Ayes have it. And that resolution is adopted.
And a resolution authorizing the Director of the Office of Homeless Services on behalf of the City of Philadelphia to file a proposal for fiscal year 2018 Emergency Solutions Grant Program funding with the Pennsylvania Department of Community and Economic Development, introduced by Councilwoman Blackwell.
Chair recognizes Councilwoman Blackwell.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for the adoption of the resolution.
It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Ayes have it. And that resolution is adopted.
And a resolution recognizing and congratulating Comcast NBC Universal for being honored as a 2017 Employer Support Freedom Award recipient, presented by the Secretary of Defense for their commitment to members of the military, veterans, and their families, introduced by Councilman Heenan.
Chair recognizes Councilman Heenan.
I move for the adoption of the resolution.
Second.
It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed? Ayes have it. And that resolution is adopted.
And a resolution authorizing the Committee of the Whole to hold hearings regarding Philadelphia's Amazon HQ2 proposal, introduced by Councilman Green.
Green. Chair recognizes Councilman Green.
Thank you, Council President. A moonshot is an ambitious, exploratory, groundbreaking project. And the phrase moonshot came about during the Apollo 11 space mission trying to put a man on the moon. And so Philadelphia, in the past couple of years, we've had a number of moonshot moments from the NFL draft, both the DNC, the RNC some years ago, as well as the World Meeting of Families. And so today, there was an announcement regarding the city's proposal regarding the Amazon HQ2 proposal that was submitted. It was an opportunity to bring together a unique collaboration of a number of different interests that came together. We had 150 regional leaders sign a letter in support of that proposal. Over 50 college presidents signed a letter in support of this proposal. Also, this body, under the leadership of Councilwoman Reynolds Brown, passed a resolution supporting that initiative. And so I thought it was important to try to learn and get some ideas about best practices and how this collaboration came together. What were the things that we learned in putting together this process? There are a number of different people that can be thanked in putting together the proposal, along with the mayor, our Commerce Director, Harold Epps, and Vaughn Ross, and Sylvia Gaylor Howard, the Chief of Staff for Harold Epps, as well as John Grady from PIDC and John Fry from the Chamber. But this was a true collaborative effort. And I think we'll be remiss if we did not use this opportunity to really learn about how this collaboration came together and how can we use this energy and motivation so that we can address other moonshot issues that we have in our city, like poverty and homeless and others. So with that, Council President, I move for the adoption of the resolution.
It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Ayes have it. And that resolution is adopted.
And a resolution recognizing and honoring Bernard Bud Newman, immediate past president of the Jewish Federation of Greater Philadelphia, for his stewardship to the organization and his service to the Jewish community of Greater Philadelphia, introduced by Councilman Dom.
Chair recognizes Councilman Dom.
Thank you, Council President. I move for the adoption of the resolution.
It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, the ayes have it, and that resolution is adopted.
And a resolution commemorating the 20th anniversary of the Million Women March, which inspired African American women across the nation to work for their own improvement as well as that of their communities, introduced by Councilwoman Bass.
Chair recognizes Councilwoman Bass.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for the adoption.
It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, the ayes have it, and that resolution is adopted.
There are no other resolutions on the final passage calendar, Mr. President.
Thank you very much, Mr. Decker. That concludes our calendar for today. Are there any speeches on the part of the minority? Okay. Speeches on behalf of the majority. Chair recognizes Councilman Heenan.
Thank you, Mr. President. Sometimes we we have the pleasure, and a lot of times, and we should recognize a lot of people who do good work, and sometimes, you know, the good work that we do here in City Council as members, as elected members of the City of Philadelphia, the people that surround us and live with us, and in some cases, maybe our better halves. In the case of Councilman Jones with his wife Jazz, as we all know, who's doing great work, fantastic work with the City of Philadelphia, was just reappointed in the Commonwealth to the Pennsylvania Women's Commission. And I mean, I think that is extremely important for her representing us at the level that she is with civic engagement, policies, advising not just the governor, but the ongoing continuation of advisement and legislation and policies that are set here in the City of Philadelphia. So I just want to take a public moment to congratulate not only our colleague for having such a pretty awesome spouse, but I want to thank her for the work that she does on behalf of the City of Philadelphia.
Thank you. Congratulations. Tell us, we all say congratulations, Councilman. Chair recognizes Councilman Green.
Thank you, Council President. Tomorrow marks the 3-year anniversary of the decriminalization of small amounts of marijuana that was done by then Councilman Jim Kenney, now our mayor, and that has led to a change in how we view marijuana, not only in the City of Philadelphia, but around the Commonwealth. However, we still have a lot more to do. There's a recent article, I believe, in the Inquirer that talked about even in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, you still have African Americans more likely to be arrested 8-to-1 compared to others in our society, and in some counties that's 10-to-1. So we still have much more to do in reference to how people of color are impacted in reference to criminal justice as it also pertains to marijuana. But with this sea change, that also, I think, provided the opportunity for the medical marijuana legislation to be passed in the Commonwealth. And there's been various reports that when you have opportunities to use medical marijuana, it provides less opioid addiction, and I think that's something that will happen not only in the city, but also the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, because that's what's happened in other states around this nation. And it will provide an opportunity for various people who have ailments from Lou Gehrig's disease, post-traumatic stress disorder, as well as autism. And many of you know that I'm a strong support and advocate regarding autism, and that's how I got involved regarding the medical marijuana issue when learning from advocates in other parts of the country talk about the benefits that medical marijuana has provided. And so to close, I just want to remind people that on Saturday, we will have the annual Autism Speaks Walk at Citizens Bank Park at 9 a.m. Hopefully everyone that's available under the sound of my voice can come out and support this initiative and really deliver an opportunity for more people to benefit from the research and all the services that Autism Speaks does, not only in Philadelphia, but around our nation. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Chair recognizes Councilwoman Blackwell.
Thank you, Mr. President. There are a few notices passed out. One has pumpkins on it for Families Forward, who is collecting candies, apples, various things for their program, which deals with homeless women and children. Last night they had their Janie L. Blackwell Gala, which they have yearly, and I'm honored to be associated. So certainly we invite anyone to contribute who can. And also there's a copy of a 30th anniversary reception for Douala, Cameroon. They are a sister city, the only country from Africa that is a sister city to us. There are 35 others, but only one African one, and we were happy to have the mayor part of honoring the ambassador and some others, and so we invite everyone who can, along with Senator Street, who I don't think can be there. He's having some masquerade party. But there's a flyer. We invite you tomorrow to a reception across the hall if you are able to come. And finally, I would like to say a special thank you to our colleague, Maria Quinoni Sanchez. Every time I meet somebody from Puerto Rico, she already knows them. Even last week when we want to thank her for Local 57, and we mentioned the business manager, Esteban Vera. She already knew him. Not only that, when it came time, Local 57 had these big, you don't call them containers, whatever you call them, trucks, whatever they are, to fill up to take back to Puerto Rico. She told them where to go to get all this stuff, so at least 1/3 of the containers were filled up with stuff she had in other centers. I tell you, people in our city are very, very blessed to have her. Her people are blessed to have her. She does so much. I went to the Puerto Rican Day Parade this year. You know, we all concerned about what's going on there. All those people knew her. And you know how many hundreds of people there were, as well as the elected officials and other leaders in our city. So we just wanted to say we're proud to be a part of this organization and work with you, and for all the things you do. God bless you, and thank you.
Ditto. Thank you, Councilwoman. Chair recognizes Councilwoman Bass.
Thank you, Mr. President, and as always, great job, Councilwoman Sanchez. I just wanted to make sure that every member of council, and really anyone who is listening, knows about what's happening in Germantown right now. But for those members of council, you may see on your desk that there is currently a competition for a very exciting opportunity presented by National Geographic called Vote Your Main Street. And the Vote Your Main Street contest is designed to highlight main streets across the country, but will choose one crowd-selected winner for a monetary prize. Right now, Germantown ranks 7th out of 25 of America's favorite main streets in the running to receive $2 million in preservation funding from American Express. A win for us would invest those funds to provide facade improvements, structural improvements to some of America's and the neighborhood's African-American historic sites, including Parker Hall and the John Trower buildings on Germantown Avenue. Both structures were built late in the 1800s, and today Parker Hall is the home to the ACES Museum, which highlights the contributions of soldiers of color. Philadelphia was already named a national treasure by the National Trust for Historic Preservation, one of the competition sponsors, and we in City Council know that each of our neighborhoods are national treasures containing hidden gems everywhere you turn. Winning this competition wouldn't just be a win for Germantown or the 8th District, it will be a win for the whole city and all of the diverse neighborhoods that makes us truly unique. So in that spirit of citywide pride, I ask that all of you go to voteyourmainstreet.com and choose Germantown, which is also, by the way, the only neighborhood in the city, and again, I believe the only neighborhood in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. You can vote up to 5 times a day. It's legal. Every day. And the contest ends on October 31st. Let me say that again. You can vote 5 times a day, every day, and it's legal until it's not a problem. And the contest ends October 31st. We'll also be sending around an email with more information and a link for everyone's convenience, and we would love to have everyone's support. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Chair recognizes Councilman Johnson.
Thank you, Council President.
Welcome.
Just a couple brief announcements. So tomorrow at Orton Reed High School, University of Orton Reed, located at 32nd and Reed Street, we'll be having our annual Peace Not Guns Memorial Basketball game, and that's a game where we have young men from the Point Breeze Youth Development Basketball League play a friendly game of basketball against the members of the Philadelphia Police Department, all in the effort to improve upon community and police relations, but we also memorialize all those who have lost their lives to gun violence here in the city of Philadelphia. And so that's going to take place from 6 to 9, again tomorrow at 32nd and Reed, University of Orton Reed High School, Friday, October the 20th. Also, there's a major issue we're dealing with in the district regarding the closing down of a major rec center, Class A rec center in my district, known as Vare Recreational Center. And this is a building that will possibly be a historical building, and we had to close down the building based upon the structural damages that goes beyond the $1 million that we receive as capital funding as individual council members. But it really just highlights the fact that the rebuild project is significantly needed. In this particular project, if I can give my capital funds that I have right now to fix the whole rec center, I would, but unfortunately, that's not the case. And it's a hub for the community. It's where all the young people come. And the sad part about the whole situation that's frustrating is that we're a community of neighborhoods, right? And what complicates the issue is that when you move the children around to different neighborhoods, then you have to deal with the issue of turf wars. But nevertheless, hopefully this will take a moment for us to all sit back and think about how we can come together as a community, because honestly, you should be able to go to any neighborhood, regardless of where you live, and feel safe without being threatened of being shot or murdered. But in the meanwhile, that will be my call to arms to the community members, that going through this tough transition period, as we address the recreation center, and some people may have to go to other rec centers that's in other parts of my district, or we have some community space in certain schools they're going to be partaking in. We all have to step up together to make sure the kids are safe, and so rather that's creating safe corridor programs along certain streets, and most importantly, stepping up and banning each other eyes and ears, so all young people can be safe regardless of where they go to enjoy themselves. But it also highlights how critically important it is that we receive that funding to address our infrastructure when it comes to parks and recreational facilities across the city of Philadelphia. And so for me, all politics aside, this is for the kids, this is for the babies, and so I'm going to be on the front line making sure I get my recreational center back up and running and fully renovated. Thank you, Council President.
Thank you, Councilman. Chair recognizes Councilman Dunn.
Thank you, Council President. I just wanted to revisit something I may have talked about earlier, but last year I attended a diversity dinner in technology and opened my mouth and made the commitment that we would sponsor 20 high schools in a program called Coded by Kids, a technology program. It's a program that teaches kids in the 10th, 11th, and 12th grade coding. We picked 15 kids per high school. The 4 high schools I committed to were Edison, Roxborough, Bartram, and Yes High School on North Broad Street. The program's already started. We have another 11 schools committed by business people and tech people. We are up to 15 high schools. So we're going to be teaching. The goal is to get to 20, then the goal is to get to 50. The cost, if anyone has someone who might be interested, is inexpensive. For 15 kids at Edison High School, it costs over a 3-year period $13,500, less than $1,000 per student for 3 years. And Sylvester Mobley, who runs the program, has guaranteed me he can get them jobs in technology when they graduate. So you talk about a return on investment of our young people. This is unbelievably, for $1,000, we're teaching them coding over a 3-year period. So I'm making a plea that we get more schools endorsed, more businesses involved, more tech companies involved. It's peanuts compared to the return we're getting from these kids learning coding and getting jobs. So I know the dinner's next week, and I wanted to bring this up because I think to me, it's the best investment we can make in our young people. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. That concludes the speeches on behalf of the majority and minority, and the chair recognizes Councilwoman Reynolds Brown for a motion to adjourn.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that City Council stand adjourned until Thursday, October 26, 2017, at 10 a.m.
Thank you. It has been moved and properly second. The council stand adjourned until Thursday, October 26, 2017, 10 a.m. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, the ayes have it. Thank you all very much.
Please. I'm sorry, what you got? Just need you to sign these. Yes.